I want to take you straight to Pakistan for our top focus story on this broadcast. The Baloch Liberation Army fighters have taken control of a train. They've seized the Jaffar Express. We are told 6 soldiers of the Pakistan Army have been neutralized by Baloch Liberation Army fighters. The information is that this train, one, was a very long train. It had many bogies. It had people who were going home during the Ramzan and before Eid. They wanted to get home. So perhaps between 400 to 500 passengers are now being held hostage. The Baloch Liberation Army has issued a stern warning. They're saying this is the final warning to the Pakistan Army. If the aerial bombardment is not halted immediately, all hostages will be killed one by one, starting the next 1 hour. This is the Majid Brigade. It also comprises the Fateh Squad and the Zirab unit fighters of the Baloch Liberation Army and other entities. They are actively engaged in, as they put it, countermeasures to deal with any further Pakistan Army incursion, as they put it, in Balochistan, warning that any Pakistan Army incursion in Balochistan will have, and I quote, catastrophic consequences for the Pakistan Army, unquote. In Quetta, that's the information that we have. The Jaffar Express left Quetta around 9 in the morning. That's what Pakistan Railways officials said. Firing on the Jaffar Express took place in the Bolan area. It's the Pero Kanari area of Bolan. It's a hilly tract, we are told, where the firing took place. And look, the Baloch Liberation Army fighters, they chose the area for their attack. They waited till the train came to the Bolan area, the hilly tract. The train slowed down. The train was to enter a tunnel. Just as the train was entering that area where it slowed down, they opened fire, injuring the train, the engine driver. Then Baloch Liberation Army fighters got in. They moved forward. Security forces inside the train, they were identified. At least 6, that's what the information initially is. At least 6 fighters have 6 security forces personnel have been neutralized by Baloch Liberation Army fighters. Apparently, this is the latest information that we are getting right now. This train comprises 9 bogies, so 9 coaches, nearly 500 passengers are on board, and this is the number of the registered passengers on board, those who had tickets. Remember, before Eid, during Ramzan, there were many people who could have been on board the train or could be on board this train who are not registered, who are traveling without a ticket or traveling in with an unreserved ticket, a general ticket. So even in Pakistan, they're saying the numbers could be much higher. More information coming in. The train driver, the engine driver, has been seriously injured in the firing, and this is information that's coming in from the Balochistan government spokesperson. The Baloch Liberation Army has repelled Pakistani Army's ground assault. So the Pakistan Army information that's coming in has mounted a ground assault. That ground assault has been repelled according to Baloch Liberation Army, and there are intense clashes that are going on right now on ground even as we speak, and the Pakistani ground forces have been forced to retreat. So they launched an airstrike. They brought in attack helicopters, and they brought in unmanned combat aerial vehicles and drones and rigged drones to mount an attack from the sky. That's also been repelled. I quickly want to cut across to Ijaz Ahmed, who's joining us from Pakistan with the latest. Ijaz Ahmed, welcome on India Today. What more can you tell us, Ijaz? What's the latest that's happening on ground?
Yeah, indeed, it is a difficult situation. 7 terrorists belonging to BLA have reportedly from BLA, they have hostage a very big and very long train called Jaffar Express. But security forces have reached on the ground, and they will the Pakistani security forces is fighting for very long against these terrorists and different kinds of terrorist activities. They are experienced. And they will, on the other hand, they are 7. The terrorists who have hosted the train are, as per the BLA claim, they are 7 people. So I think it will take very long, not in few hours, but it may take 10 to 12 hours. Then the train will be freed, because terrorists have their own capacity. Since they are very little in numbers.
Ijaz, what can you tell us about the lay of the land for the benefit of our viewers in India and across the world? What kind of territory is in this area where the train was apparently hijacked, and a part of a track has also been blown off, is the information that we're getting? Can you confirm that? Has the track also been blown off? And what kind of terrain is this?
Balochistan is a different, the different province. It has very vast empty areas, mountains and carriages, and also the agricultural lands and the barren lands. So everything is, under speculation. Everybody is speculating. Nobody still has the actual information, except those few who are on the ground or who are in contact with people on the ground. So nothing can be said finally, but and the situation will be cleared when the operation will concluded, or the issue will be resolved. So we will have to wait and see how security forces conducted, and I'm sure Pakistani security forces have gone through such incidents in the past. I remember in 1994 when Ustad Zabani from Afghanistan got a bus of students kidnapped, and the bus was brought to Islamabad. They were brought to the Afghan embassy, and 7 terrorists were included in that incident also. And the security forces engaged them in the talks, and then finally they were got killed. So I think that the security forces will have their own strategy.
Stay with me for a moment, Ijaz. I want to bring in my colleague Shivani Sharma, who's tracking developments on the story very closely. Shivani, there has been a spate of recent attacks in Balochistan, and we'll talk about that spate of attacks in just a moment. But any information that you've been able to glean from Pakistan about the train being hijacked, number of people on board, any details about who are these people on board, and the number of people who've taken people captive?
Gaurav, this was an operation that has taken on by BLA on a specific input, because this train that had 9 bogies that started from Quetta was carrying majorly the security forces who were going on leave in the month of Ramadan for Eid. And at a specific location, this whole attack was planned. The figure of 450 is the registered strength of people on this particular train, out of which the BLA has already released children, women, and the residents of Balochistan. So the final figure that is now captive with the BLA is around 100, and that's what has also been brought out by the BLA in its statement. And we know that a few days back there was an announcement by BLA that they are now uniting all these smaller groups who have been fighting for Balochistan in a Baloch National Army. And they are also taking up a big strategy, a big technique which is technologically driven. Their style of fight will change. And after this declaration, Gaurav, this happens to be the first major attack on the security forces of Pakistan. Here, where this train was traveling to, and they were on leave. They were going for leave. In fact, most of these people in this train were more than 120 personnel were there. They were from police forces. They were from military. They were from the anti-terrorist organization.
Stay with me for a moment. I have breaking news coming in. News just coming in. The Pakistan Army has rushed in a relief train with reinforcements, and this reinforcement train has Pakistan Army soldiers and doctors. The relief train has been dispatched from the Quetta railway station to Sibi in Balochistan after the Jaffar Express was hijacked. There are more than 100 military personnel. That's the information that we are getting. Military personnel on board the train that has been hijacked. Additional train has now been sent in with reinforcements. Ijaz Ahmed, a senior Pakistani journalist, with me on this broadcast. So, Ijaz, this would actually completely change the dynamics in case it's not just civilian passengers, but military personnel who are going on home leave or during Ramzan. If military personnel have been held hostage, that actually changes the dynamics of military operations, wouldn't it, Ijaz?
You are right, but the operation will be enforced and will be implemented in phases. First phase, and that would be the top priority, to evacuate those women, children who are freed by the people who have hostage the train. So the first priority is to bring them and ensure their security. So the first phase is that, and in second phase they will try to finish these terrorists who have hostage the train. And that is, if the security personnel are hostage and around 100, as said by BLA, so that would be that will give a bit relief to the security forces who will conduct the operation, because security personnel are trained in a different way, and the civilians are not trained in that particular way. So civilians are being evacuated who have been released by.
Ijaz, stay with me, catch your breath, have a glass of water. I have Mehran Mari, a Baloch activist, joining me on this broadcast. Mehran Mari, what can you tell me, sir, about what's happening right now, about this operation that's being undertaken? Why have BLA fighters hijacked a train and taken people hostage?
I think we have to correct the terminology about, even the gentleman before, I have no idea who he was, but he was babbling on so much about hostages and the terrorists and the security agencies. This is the Baloch population, Baloch people's reaction towards atrocities being carried out by Pakistani agencies and the military in Balochistan. So I don't think we can give it just a BLA or call it terrorists or call it, give it any name.
But we're giving it no name, Mehran Mari. All we've said is BLA fighters have taken control of a train. I want to understand from you why.
Yes, I think it's, if you do realize, in the last 40 days, 60 enforced disappearances have taken place in Balochistan, and the Pakistani army has intensified its military operations in Balochistan. It's a clear reaction to that progressing situation in Balochistan. It's a reaction to that.
Do you have any information about the current situation on ground, about who the fighters are, what kind of weapons do they have, what kind of training and tactics do BLA personnel have?
I think even if I had that information, I would not like to share that with the Pakistani militaries to bring it to their attention. But I think more importantly, what we have to focus on, who are the people on the train? Before, these Pakistani military personnel and the abaters used to use the ground, basically trucks and buses for transportation. But they were intercepted by Baloch fighters. Now they're using the train. So the majority of people on the train are not civilians, but they're military personnel who were going for Eid or Ramadan holidays to their own consecutive places or wherever their origins are in Punjab.
And what are the demands, before I go back to our guests from Pakistan, Mehran Mari, what are the demands of the Baloch fighters who've held a train, who've taken a train full of Pakistani service personnel on leave hostage? What are the demands?
I think the demands of the Baloch fighters, I'm not clear on. I'm sure they will reveal their own demands, but the Baloch nation demands the withdrawal of Pakistani fighting forces from Balochistan, and we want the end of occupation by Pakistan of Balochistan. The demands are very clear.
But, am I to understand that Baloch Liberation Army or the people of Balochistan want Pakistan Army out of Balochistan? Is that even possible? You raised the issue of enforced disappearances. So let's take this one by one. I have Arzu Kazmi, a senior Pakistani journalist, joining me on the broadcast. Arzu Kazmi, enforced disappearances is an issue that's been Pakistan's Achilles heel. Baloch women led a long march to Islamabad. They weren't even permitted to sit at the press club and protest. They weren't even permitted to air their grievances. So in case they're not allowed democratically, what other option do they have except what Mr. Mari describes the BLA doing?
एग्जैक्टली गौरव, यू आर 100% राइट, बिकॉज यहाँ पे जो एक कहा जाता है ना कि मिसिंग पर्सन्स का इशू है, आई ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट इट, कि उसकी वजह से यहाँ पर बहुत बार बलूचिस्तान से लोग आते हैं, इस्लामाबाद प्रेस क्लब के बाहर वो बैठते हैं, प्रोटेस्ट करते हैं, मगर कोई गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स आके उनको पूछता तक नहीं है। अब इन्होंने इस्लामाबाद प्रेस क्लब के आगे जहां वो बैठा करते थे वो हिस्सा भी पूरा तोड़ दिया है, बिकॉज दे डोंट वांट एनीवन के वो यहाँ पर आए और यहाँ पे प्रोटेस्ट करें। तो उनकी डिमांड्स जो है ना, वो ये उनको सुनते हैं ना, ये उनको कोई बात करते हैं, दे जस्ट बाय फोर्स ये अपनी सारी चीजें जो है वो मनवाना चाहते हैं। तो फिर यही रिजल्ट निकलेगा अनफॉर्चुनेटली। ये तो हम बहुत टाइम से कह रहे थे, इस वक्त आप बात कर रहे हैं, आप लोग, आपका मीडिया जो है ये खबर को दिखा रहा है, इस न्यूज को कवर कर रहा है, और हमारे मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया का हाल ये है कि अभी भी मैंने सामने टीवी ऑन किया हुआ है और ये न्यूज हमारे यहाँ बिल्कुल चलाई ही नहीं जा रही। तो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड हाउ हमारे यहाँ किस तरीके से हमारे यहाँ जो है वो कंट्रोल किया जाता है, हाउ दे कंट्रोल द मीडिया, कि वो यहाँ पे बलूचिस्तान में क्या कुछ हो गया और यहाँ पर न्यूज तक नहीं दी जा रही। अभी एक छोटा सा पटाखा भी अगर चला दिया होता ना किसी ने पंजाब में, तो चिल्ला चिल्ला के हमारे टीवी चैनल्स का हाल खराब हो गया होता। बट दे नेवर गिव इंपॉर्टेंस टू केपीके एंड बलूचिस्तान।
ये तो आप बड़ी बात कह रही है, ये तो आप बड़ी बात कह रही है। लेट मी गेट इजाज अहमद टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू इट बिफोर आई ब्रिंग इन मेहरान मारी वंस अगेन आल्सो जॉइनिंग मी ऑन दिस ब्रॉडकास्ट, बहुत बलोच जर्नलिस्ट फ्रॉम बलूचिस्तान। लेकिन इजाज, ये आरजू काजमी कह रही है क्योंकि ये बलूचिस्तान में हो रहा है तो पाकिस्तान का मीडिया इसको उठा भी नहीं रहा है। अगर पंजाब सूबे में हुआ होता इट वुड हैव बीन अ बिग हेडलाइन।
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। सुबह पहले मीडिया ने इसको कवर किया है, लेकिन देखिए एक चीज की सेंसिटिविटी होती है ना, स्पेकुलेशंस फैलने लगती हैं, टेरर फैलने लगता है। टेररिस्ट का मकसद क्या होता है? उनका तो मकसद यही होता है कि वो टेरर फैलाए और उनके पर्पज सर्वोच्च है। तो उससे बचने के लिए पाकिस्तानी मीडिया जिम्मेदारी का मुजाहरा करता है। अगर इंडिया में ऐसी सिचुएशन होगी तो इंडियन मीडिया को भी ऐसा ही करना चाहिए। ये कोई ऐसी इशू नहीं है। जहां तक वो मेहरान साहब बात कर रहे थे ना, ये मेहरान साहब, आई डोंट नो कि वो कौन है, लेकिन वो बिल्कुल कुछ नहीं जानते। वो कहते हैं पहले ये बसें तो ट्रक से सफर करते थे, कॉन्वॉय जब सफर करते हैं, जब इक्विपमेंट की डिप्लॉयमेंट होती है वो बसेस से जाता है। हमेशा फैमिली जो है वो ट्रेनें इस्तेमाल किया करती है, वो सिविलियन हो या मिलिट्री पर्सनल हो, वो ट्रेन ही इस्तेमाल करते हैं। और इसीलिए इन्होंने सोच समझ कर ये अटैक किया। एक जो शिफ्ट है वो ये है कि बलूच लिबरेशन आर्मी जो है BLA, उसने एक तो दीगर ग्रुप्स को साथ किया और फिर ये उसके बाद उन्होंने सिटी में एक और अटैक किया था, आपको याद होगा, वो जो 50 किलोमीटर के इलाके में कुछ बसों को रोका गया था। लेकिन प्रॉब्लम जो मैं समझता हूँ ना, BLA क्या जवाब देगी पंजाब में बसने वाले बलोचों के हवाले से या सिंध में बसने वाले बलोचों के हवाले से? इनका तो इशू क्या? मैं
मेहरान मारी से उसका भी जवाब ले लेता हूं क्योंकि ये बात पहले भी उठी थी, बिकॉज मेहरान मारी
पंजाब में या सिंध में रहने वाले
बलूच people will be targeted in Punjab and Sindh appears to be a warning. It appears to be a warning that's coming from Islamabad.
I think we do not pay any heed to Islamabad's warnings anymore. We have been at the brunt of their warnings and their army operations. They don't scare us anymore. That's the reason the Baloch population has risen up against Islamabad. Now it's not only the BLA or the Baloch fighters.
There are only few thousand BLA terrorists.
And sir, if there are only 2,000 and yet Pakistan army, which is 5 million strong, is unable to deal with them, it just speaks volumes about Pakistan army. But I want to bring in Bahut Baloch into this conversation. Bahut Baloch is joining us from Balochistan Post. Bahut Baloch, what can you tell us about what is happening on ground, where a train has been now, passengers have been held hostage?
जी शुक्रिया।
जी,
मेरी आवाज आ रही?
आपकी आवाज आ रही है बहुत बलोच साहब। क्या हो रहा है इस समय बलूचिस्तान में, आप क्या बता सकते हैं हमको?
जी आज जो वाकया हुआ है, बोलांग किला की डाडर है, वहां पर मशकाफ का इलाका आता है।
मच का इलाका, जी।
बलोच मिलिटेंट्स की बहुत बड़ी तादाद ने वहां पर पहले ट्रेन पर पटरी पर आईडी नस्ब करके उसको रोका है अपने जो मंसूबे के तहत। फिर कम अज कम 200 के करीब जो है ऑस्ट्रेजेस उन्होंने अपने पास रखे, जिनमें फौजी भी है, दीगर अदारों के भी हैं, खुफिया अदारों के भी हो सकते हैं। उन्होंने शिनाख्त के बाद उनको अपने ऑस्ट्रेजेस रखा है। और वहां पर जैसे कि बीएलए ने अपने पहले ही स्टेटमेंट में कहा कि अगर कोई फौजी एक्सर्जरेशन होती है, ऑपरेशन होती है, तो उसकी रद्दअमल में किसी को मार सकते हैं। यानी बहुत ही वाज़ेह तौर पर उन्होंने इसको कहा है। अभी जो ग्राउंड से खबरें आ रही है कि एक ड्रोन भी मार गिराया गया है फौज की, और वहां पर जंग चल रही है, हेलीकॉप्टर से बमबारी भी चल रही है। फिर इलाकाई जरा यही कह रहे हैं कि फिजा में हेलीकॉप्टर्स भी नजर आ रहे हैं और जो ड्रोन तैयारे होते हैं वो भी मुसलसल वहां पर घूम रहे हैं।
ये बलोच लिबरेशन आर्मी के कितने लड़ाके हैं इस समय जिन्होंने ट्रेन को रोका है, और क्या केवल उतने ही लोग हैं या आसपास उनके पास रीइंफोर्समेंट भी है कि अगर पाकिस्तान की आर्मी आती है तो पाकिस्तान की आर्मी को कहीं वो दूर ही रोकने के लिए इनकाउंटर करेंगे या काउंटर करने का प्रयास करेंगे, कोशिश करेंगे?
जी देखिए, जैसे कि बहुत बड़े पैमाने का एक ऑपरेशन है, सैकड़ों यरगमाली है, फिर उसमें फौजी भी है। बलोच लिबरेशन आर्मी की मजीद ब्रिगेड इसको लीड कर रही है। उसके जो खसूसी दस्ते हैं, स्पेशल जो यूनिट्स है, एसटीओस है, फतेह स्क्वाड, जो महारत रखते हैं इन चीजों में, जंगी महारत उनके पास बहुत है। फिर इंटेलिजेंस विंग भी इनकी उनको मालूमात वगैरह बर वक्त दे रही है, या जैसे कि दी जा चुकी है कि इस ट्रेन को किस वक्त कहाँ पर रोकना चाहिए, इस तरह की। तो इसमें कोई शक नहीं है कि आसपास के इलाके भी बीएलए के कब्जे में हो सकते हैं। वो तैयार होंगे अपने तरीके से कि कैसे हमको डील करना है इन चीजों में। पहले भी देखा गया है कि मुख्तलिफ ऑपरेशन में 300 से ज्यादा भी जंगजू हिस्सा लेते रहे हैं। बिल्कुल इसमें हो सकते हैं कि बहुत बड़ी तादाद में जंगजू हिस्सा ले रहे हैं।
So this seems to be escalating fast, and that's a big story. Arzu Kazmi, in case Baloch Liberation Army had intelligence inputs that a Pakistan military train was moving and Pakistani soldiers were moving from one place to another, either on leave or with families, and they were able to stop that train. One, it indicates they had intelligence. Two, they had operational control of that entire terrain. And three, the Pakistan army is still facing a huge challenge in dealing with them despite using attack helicopters and armed drones.
डेफिनेटली गौरव, इनको ये चीज रोकनी पड़ेगी, इसके अलावा कोई दूसरा रास्ता नहीं है। आई डोंट नो कि ये पाकिस्तान इंटेलिजेंस जो है वो हमेशा नंबर 1 अपने आप को बताते हैं, तो इनको पता कैसे नहीं लगता कि इस किस्म के अटैक्स होने वाले हैं, या ऐसे ट्रेन को रोक लिया जाएगा, ऐसे लोगों को हॉस्टेज बना दिया जाएगा। अब आई डोंट नो कि अगर इनको बलूचिस्तान की सिचुएशन का अच्छे से आइडिया है, फिर भी अगर इनकी इंटेलिजेंस ये सब पता करने में नाकाम है, बिल्कुल फेलियर अगर सामने दिखाई देता है, तो मुझे तो लग रहा है कि सिचुएशन और आगे खराब भी होती चली जाएगी। जहां तक एक पैनलिस्ट आपको कह रहे थे पाकिस्तान से कि जी ये बहुत सेंसिटिव इशू होता है, इसको बात नहीं की जाती, तो जब पंजाब में कुछ होता है तो फिर क्यों नहीं बात करते? फिर उसके बाद क्यों ये बार बार पंजाब में अगर कुछ हो जाए तो बार बार क्यों न्यूज पे दिया जाता है? आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड कि अगर बलूचिस्तान या केपीके में होता है तो ये न्यूज सामने नहीं आती, लेकिन अगर पंजाब में आप जरा सा भी कुछ हो जाए तो पूरा दिन वो ब्रेकिंग न्यूज चलती है। दैट मीन्स के दे आर गिविंग इंपॉर्टेंस ओनली टू पंजाब। और बलूचिस्तान और केपीके के साथ जिस तरीके से बिहेवियर होता है, स्पेशली ऑन द मीडिया।
ओके, इजाज अहमद आपको जवाब देना चाहते हैं। ही वांट्स टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू यू क्विकली बिफोर आई ब्रिंग इन मिस्टर मारी एंड बहुत बलोच, बट क्विकली इजाज आप जवाब दे रहे थे आरजू काज़मी को।
जी, मैं दो बातें कहना चाहता हूँ। एक तो यह है कि पंजाब की जो सिचुएशन है वो डिफरेंट है, उस तरह स्पेकुलेशन नहीं फैलती। बलूचिस्तान के हालात की वजह से स्पेकुलेशन ज्यादा फैलती हैं और फियर और टेरर ज्यादा फैलता है, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, मेरा एक सवाल है, ये अगर ये जो नुमाइंदा है बलूचों के, वो अगर बता सके या गौहर साहब बता सके, कौन है जो इनको बलोच लिबरेशन आर्मी को असला फराहम करता है, इक्विप करता है, कौन है उनको जो ट्रेनिंग देता है, कौन उनको रिसोर्सेज फराहम करता है?
ठीक, Mr. Mari is responding. Go on, Mr. Mari. You were responding. I could hear you. Only Mr. Mari. Only Mr. Mari. Mr. Mari is responding. Go on, sir.
Asking for a Pakistani to give the feedback on the situation is wasting your time. They detract from the situation. Basically, why the Pakistani gentleman says is sensitivities. They're embarrassed. The Baloch fighters are causing them great embarrassment. They eat 70% of the Pakistan's budget, proving to be the strongest and the best army and intelligence agency. They have failed at every step. They're only good at killing civilians, women and children. They cannot face Baloch fighters. It's an embarrassment, not a sensitivity. Therefore, they don't touch this topic. Therefore, they don't highlight the topic.
But what has suddenly changed? Because we see a spike in activities by Baloch fighters. We also see a number of Baloch fighters and different units seem to have come together. There are reports in the Western media that it's not just the Baloch fighters, but the TTP and Baloch fighters, they've joined hands. A lot of new weapons and systems have come in from Afghanistan. Is that true, Mr. Mari?
Gee, the Baloch fighters of generation who are born under the occupation and the brutality of the Pakistani regime, they're up under 25 years old. It's the Musharraf's brutality that generation is fighting now. They have seen war from close, and these guys are ready to fight for the liberation of Balochistan in another way that the older generation was not. Therefore, it's the intensity of the war the Pakistani establishment cannot digest or accept. They have to. Balochistan's liberation is a reality. It will happen. Doesn't matter if Islamabad accepts it or denies it.
Okay, that's a big point that you're making, that Baloch liberation will happen. But the weapons and the systems, बहुत Baloch, क्या हमारे पास कोई information है कि जो Baloch fighters हैं, उनके पास किस तरह के हथियार हैं, उनकी कितनी तादाद है और वो कितनी देर तक पाकिस्तान की आर्मी को रोक सकते हैं या पाकिस्तान की आर्मी के साथ लड़ सकते हैं? ये किस तरह का, किस स्केल का ऑपरेशन है ये?
जी, आप मुझसे कह रहे हैं?
जी 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 जी।
देखिए, अभी जो मैंने कहा कि ताज़ा तरीन इतलात है कि उन्होंने कोई ड्रोन भी मार गिराया है, इससे वाज़ेह होता है कि उनके पास तैयारा शिकन यानी बड़ी हथियार जो हेलीकॉप्टर को भी मार गिरा सकते हैं, जो ड्रोन्स को भी मार गिरा सकते हैं, फिर वो सब उनके पास है। और हालिया दिनों में जिस तरह के हालिया सालों में बलोच फाइटर्स जिस तरह के अपने अम्यूनेशन है उसको अपडेट कर चुके हैं, वो भी वाज़ेह है कि उनमें मुख्तलिफ चीज़ें इस्तेमाल होते हैं, रात को देखने वाले जो इक्विपमेंट्स वगैरह सब कुछ है। जिस तरह मैंने बयान किया कि ये बहुत बड़े पैमाने का ऑपरेशन है, कम से कम 500 से 600 यहाँ पर सवारियां हुए हैं उस ट्रेन में। इन सबको लेना, उनको हाईजैक करना, फिर उनको संभालना, ये सब माने पर फाइटर्स का काम हो सकता है। फिर
Arzu Kazmi, this would be very worrisome for the Pakistani army in case the Baloch fighters, the Baloch Liberation Army or the Majid Brigade or elements of the TTP that may be coming and fighting alongside them have access to anti-aircraft guns, or if they have something that can take down a drone, or if they have something that can take down a helicopter. Arzu, अगर आप मुझे सुन पा रही हैं तो ये पाकिस्तान की आर्मी के लिए तो बहुत बड़ी चिंता की बात होगी अगर बलोच फाइटर्स के पास एंटी एयरक्राफ्ट गन्स हैं या वो किसी ड्रोन को गिरा सकते हैं या हेलीकॉप्टर को मारने की क्षमता रखते हैं। Okay, as I reestablish that link with Arzu Kazmi, Mehran Mari, do the Baloch fighters have access to these kinds of weapons, especially after Taliban took control of Afghanistan and the US forces left?
Sir, it's no secret the availability of weapons of all kinds available in Afghanistan. 38 countries from the NATO plus the United States dumped their weapons in Afghanistan for over 20 years. So why is it so surprising for people to find Baloch fighters having these advanced weapons? They're next door in our neighboring country, and they were brought in by the international forces. So I don't see the surprising element over here.
No, but the point that you made was that the earlier tactics were guerrilla attacks. They would hide in the mountains, come out, launch an attack on a convoy, or target some military general or military brigadier and get back in the hills. Now it seems to be from a standoff attack to taking suicide, and especially women. Why are women coming forward as suicide bombers? Why are they attacking, going into military camps and attacking them?
The courage and the audacity of the Baloch fighters has increased as well, because they have realized the Pakistani army is nothing to be feared. The way they used to project themselves as the greatest army, the greatest intelligence agency, they have nothing to be feared. The determination of the Baloch fighters is far greater than the Pakistani army who fights for money. Therefore, they're more upfront, they're in the face of the army. They're challenging the army to come for a fight. And the army only attacks from helicopters because they're scared to face the Baloch fighters. It's the reality of the war today, because Pakistan is on a back foot and it realizes it's fighting a losing war.
Ijaz Ahmed, would you want to weigh in on this with the Baloch, speaker saying that the Pakistan army is scared to attack from ground? They only launch air to ground attacks, and this is where the Baloch fighters now have access to anti-aircraft guns. So that would make the fight for the Pakistan army perhaps even more challenging in the times ahead.
गौरव, मैं यही तो पूछ रहा हूँ ना। देखिए ना, ये इतना आसान तो नहीं है। मुझे अगर पिस्टल चलानी है तो मुझे उसकी ट्रेनिंग लेनी होगी ना जी। इतने सोफिस्टिकेटेड हथियार ये इन्होंने दिया कि जनाब वो अफगानिस्तान में मौजूद है। अफगानिस्तान में जो मौजूद है वो भी पता है। लेकिन इनका देखिए ना, इन सोफिस्टिकेटेड हथियारों के लिए फंडिंग चाहिए, ट्रेनिंग चाहिए, बड़े पैमाने पर एक पैराफर्नीलिया चाहिए जिसके जो इनको ये तमाम चीजों से जो है ना वो कंपैटिबल करेगा। तो ये इस बात का जवाब नहीं देते। दूसरा ये कि इनके पास रिसोर्सेज इनके हैं।
Okay, I seem to have lost that link with Ijaz in just a moment.
But पाकिस्तानी जेंटलमैन को हमारा काफी चिंता है कि हमारे हथियार कहाँ से आते हैं, बलोच के रिसोर्सेज कहाँ से आते हैं। उनको अपना फिक्र करना चाहिए। बलोचों के बारे में क्यों इतना फिक्रमंद है?
Or let me get the last word from Bahut Baloch, a Baloch journalist who's joining us from Balochistan Post. Bahut Baloch, क्या ये लंबा ऑपरेशन खिंचेगा? क्या आप मुझे कुछ बता सकते हैं कि इस समय किस तरह का ऑपरेशन चल रहा है? पाकिस्तान की आर्मी की मैंने सुना है कई यूनिट्स अब वहां भेजी जा रही हैं, कुछ ट्रेन से और कुछ हेलीकॉप्टर से।
जी, जिस तरह की सिचुएशन है ये चलेगी, रात भर भी चल सकती है। अभी जो इतलात है कि कोयटा से भी बड़े तादाद में जो पाकिस्तान आर्मी के फौजी एहलकार है गाड़ियों में काफिले उसी तरफ जा रहे हैं, लेकिन जमीनी सूरत-ए-हाल बहुत पेचीदा दिखाई दे। वहां पर फोर्सेस के साथ जो मिलिटेंट्स के साथ फोर्सेस को लड़ना बहुत मुश्किलात का सामना हो सकता है। फिर उन्होंने वाज़े भी कर दिया है कि हरकमाली हमारे पास है, 200 से ज्यादा भी हो सकते हैं। तो इस तरह की भी सिचुएशन है कि अगर वो मरवाना चाहते हैं कि हॉस्टेजेस को मार दिया जाए, फिर वो बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं। ये बहरहाल लंबा चलेगा कि
ठीक, आप इस खबर पर नजर बनाए रखिए। मैं ताजा जानकारी के लिए फिर आपके पास लौट कर आऊंगा। इट्स अ बिग live hostage situation in Pakistan, in Balochistan, where Baloch Liberation Army has taken an entire train, with some reports seem to indicating more than 400 to 500 passengers on board are being held hostage, and a number of these are Pakistani military personnel. Bahut Baloch, Mehran Mari and Ijaz Ahmed and Arzu Kazmi for joining me here on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks.